Coming up on BofC Live, we connect with Fern Glowinsky. She is the CEO of Merrco Payments, a payment services company in the cannabis space, serving cannabis retailers and others in the cannabis sector as well. She's our partner for an event coming up on November 24th. This is Fern Glowinsky for Merrco Payments. Fern Glowinsky, thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, Jay, as always.
As always, and those that follow what we do closely know you and know Merrco Payments. For those that don't, give us the quick update of what Merrco is, and then we'll get into it.
Perfect. Okay, with pleasure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Great to be with you. I will say that we are the leading cannabis payments company globally. And the reason I say this is because we are a leader in Canada, and Canada is the leading market in terms of having legalized recreational cannabis, as we all know. We process payments, and we do it for retailers, and we do it for licensed producers. We recently launched our US platform as well, so we're starting to board merchants in the US, CBD related, not cannabis yet. That will come eventually. We are a team of payments professionals who brought all of our expertise to the cannabis industry, and very, very well immersed, and we love the space. As we all have come to know in the cannabis sector, 3 years in cannabis is like 30 years somewhere else. So I've been at it for 30 plus years is what I would say.
Yeah, and you once, when we were having a conversation, talked about how much you loved payments. You come from a payments background. Talk a little bit about that, because I think it helps inform sort of where you are with Merrco.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for that lead up. And yes, I am very passionate about payments. It even says it on my LinkedIn profile, so it must be true. I spent the vast majority of my career in the payments industry, and it's so interesting because it's constantly changing. It's something we all can relate to because we pay for things all the time. A lot of us use our credit cards and our debit cards religiously, whether it's kind of out of our wallet or if it's on our watch or if it's on our phone. It's a combination of technology and financial services. And so to me, those are two amazing industries, and they come together to form, payments, this payment sector. And then you layer on top the cannabis industry, and that just makes it even, that much more interesting. And so much has changed in payments. And, even if you think about COVID and the impact that COVID's had on all of us, and how we're paying for things, and how we're choosing to pay for things, and how we want to pay for things, and our experience with retail, and just the massive growth in e-commerce, for example. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah, and actually, what you mentioned this there, because you and I connected, it must have been April 2020. So right as we were sort of in the midst of COVID, and in Ontario specifically, retailers all of a sudden really were allowed to have e-commerce, were allowed to do pickup, delivery. Like, it was almost like over a weekend that everybody had to ramp up. And I remember talking to you because you were talking about how hard your team was working around the clock to get retailers up and running on the e-com side and other facets. And I say that not to blow smoke, but you guys are doing a great job, but also in that you've really integrated yourself and the company into this like ecosystem of providers that retailers are really relying on, certainly on the Canadian front. Talk a little bit about that, because that time in particular, but actually since then, how nimble the team has been.
Sure. Thanks for that, Jay. Absolutely. Well, first of all, it was over a weekend, because I feel like it happened on a Thursday or a Friday, and it was sort of, okay, let's go. And I remember getting the team together on a Friday around 4 or 5 o'clock saying, okay, this has just happened. The stores need to close, and merchants, our customers or the retailers need to be able to accept payments immediately over the phone, and very, very quickly from an e-commerce standpoint, they can turn on delivery. And so we've made a very concerted effort from the very beginning of Merrco to be integrated with all the cannabis tech that's powering the space. And the reason that we've done that is so that any retailer, whatever solution they choose to power their store on the POS side, on the e-commerce side, from a marketplace standpoint, from a delivery standpoint, from a lift and learn standpoint, from a kiosk standpoint, whatever the tech is that they want to use in their store. And by the way, it could be multiple, a whole group of those. We built the ecosystem out in terms of our payments platform, and making sure that we're integrated with all of those, so that when a retailer chooses, they can choose us for payments, and they can choose from a multitude of those providers. And our readiness for that event in April of 2020 was so critical, and made a huge difference for our customers. And we were working around the clock to make it happen, of course, because we recognize payments is a critical piece of the puzzle for the retailers. They want to sell cannabis. They want to do it in whatever way they could do it when COVID hit, and whatever way that they were allowed to do it. And we wanted to just be there for them and make sure payments were working as they were pivoting, to delivery and to curbside pickup.
It was an amazing time. I mean, there was a ton going on, but in this specific slice, it was amazing to see industry come together to advocate first, but also to sort of turn it on for both consumers and the retailers that were servicing them. Fern, you and I and the team from Alterna Savings and the team from Brinks Canada will be doing an event on the 24th, where we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of these things, which is really about sort of Canadian retailers. What are some of the banking issues they see and face, and what are some of the best practices? You guys are partners. So thank you for that. But also, like, what are you seeing with your retail partners now as things like reopen in terms of sort of in-store? Like, have things changed dramatically for them since we sort of went into this lockdown?
Right. Good question. I was actually visiting one of our retailers yesterday, a new store that opened, and it was great to be in the store and have that experience. I think there's a great welcoming that's happening as people are going back into stores. And I think consumers in the cannabis sector in particular are becoming more and more educated. And maybe they took some time during COVID. They spent more time on websites, learning about the product, but now they're back in the stores. They're talking to bud tenders. I think there's like an increased comfort level, and I would say almost like a relaxed vibe that I'm sort of seeing when I go into visit stores. When it comes to our solution and payments, I think it's seamless, which is great. Whether it's, people are still doing curbside pickup or if they're paying in the store. I think that there's, greater product selection, which is great. There was just a recent article about what's happening on the beverage side. So that's been interesting to watch. But I think there's more and more products, more and more SKUs. And at the same time, we're seeing, of course, we process for customers across the country. So we're seeing some changes on the regulatory side, for example, with Alberta and the new legislation that's coming out there. And we'll see what happens in terms of whether the provincial e-com solution goes away and private retail get to take over there, which will be fantastic. So I think there's a recognition on the part of the government too that this sector is here to stay. A lot of money has been invested by individuals and companies, small business, as well as sort of some larger corporates, but government needs to do their part to support the industry. On the financial services side, I think it's still hard for retailers to access banking. We have a lot of conversations with our customers. They need a bank account in order to set up payments with us. We try to help them whenever we can and support them. And even things like, getting insurance provided, it's still challenging, surprising because, it's been legal for 3 years, but it's still a challenge, but we're here to help.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a lot about many of those things on the 24th at noon. So we'll put how to register for that. We're going to save a whole bunch until then, Fern, to keep people coming back for more always. Thank you for your time. We look forward to connect with you in real life at some point, and we'll also see you online on the 24th. Thanks, Fern.
Terrific. Thanks, Jay. Thanks so much. Take care.
That was Fern Glowinsky, the CEO of Merrco Payments. If you like this program, please rate and review us wherever you heard the show. It helps support the work we do. We're able to do what we do because of ongoing partnerships with Alterna Savings, Cannabis at Work, Cannabis Benchmark, Can Delta, Gallagher, Headset, and Torque & Main. Find out all that we do at businessofcannabis.com.